speaker quickly, not to waste time.
Myself.
Let me see.
So
Let
allow
me
me
share
to
my
share
screen,
my screen,
and then we can see that quickly. So I guess the first speaker is Jawanti Jauhari.
Yes.
And the presentation is on military pedagogy.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. It's okay. It's okay. So thank you very much, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, proceed.
Okay.
Excuse me, do you want me to proceed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the first speaker and the first presentation will be about military pedagogy in Malaysia, establishing defense university teaching and learning characteristics. So please, Miss, I don't know, is it Jawati or Johari to join us?
All right. Thank you very much, both chairs. Assalamualaikum and greetings to all. I'm from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and it is in the afternoon here, about 4:30 in the afternoon. So greetings to all. My name is Jawati binti Johari, and I'm from the National Defence University of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Today I would like to share this topic here, military pedagogy. I'm very passionate about this simply because I'm working in the Defence University. So basically, I'm looking at how do we define, in the Malaysian context, military pedagogy. So specifically today, I'm going to share the characteristics of military pedagogy in Malaysia. So, wait, I'm not able to change the slide. Okay, so basically, this is or the table of content. We are going to start with introduction, what and why, and then selected literature, of course, on military pedagogy. And then the methodology, basically, I observe classes for about 10 years, 20 semesters. And then the analysis and discussions. So this is where I get the characteristics. And last but not least, conclusion, recommendations, and what's next. So let's begin. Basically, what this purpose of presentation or sharing session, and this paper basically analyzes the characteristics of military pedagogy in terms of what and how we see it, basically. And then why do we have to do this? Basically, military pedagogy is not well known in Malaysia as well as in the Asian region. And it is only appropriate as the only defense university in Malaysia that we actually try to understand and try to actually implement it in our teaching and learning. And the literature, so I arranged this according to years. So basically this is in chronological order. So in 2000, Cafario actually talked about military pedagogy in terms of divergence as well as convergence. So what this suggests is that in one part we have military personnel going for training in order for them to complete their task, military task, and on the other hand, convergence is where military personnel can come to civilian institutions in order to do their higher degree programs. And in 2003, there's another set of scholars who talk about Spartan and Athens in military pedagogy. So basically, Spartan means we must develop the ability of this military personnel in order to fight and defend a country. And for Athens, is basically that they need to actually go and have further training, higher education in higher education institutions. So that's that. And also in 2003, we have another scholar talking about how he and a group of friends look at military pedagogy. Basically, military pedagogy is military sciences that look into the philosophies, conceptions, visions, doctrines, aims, approaches and technologies of military education and training. And in 2008, Falk actually talked about the definition of military pedagogy. Basically, first, learning must be for the purposes of defense and security, and second, learning is conducted in a military setting. So if you take this definition by Falk, that means our university is like, you know, using military pedagogy. But I think there's one more in 2002. Sorry, the button does not correspond well. So by two scholars who actually talk about the 7 aspects in military pedagogy. And in 2013, Pillay talked about higher education now for military personnel is becoming an intellectual process on its own. Now, some of you may be wondering why military pedagogy is important. For us at the Defence University, it's a huge challenge, massive challenge, to actually educate the undergraduate students who actually come for academic as well as military training. So they are doing academic and military training at the same time, simultaneously. For example, in a day, they will start 8 until 4 o'clock in the afternoon for academic programs, and then after that from 4:30 to 7:30 they will have their military training, where they can do sports or they can do other parts of military trainings. And then at night they will have what they call as administrative duties. So it's either can be a lecture on military programs or military aspects of their program, or it can be something like classes revision or preps class. So basically that's why we feel that it is important. Perhaps some of you may also feel that, you know, maybe other universities or any higher education providers also have the same thing, but because we are located inside a military camp, so that's why definition by Falk in 2008 would suit us perfectly. And I mentioned very early just now the fact that I did observations 10 years, and I started from 2013, about 20 semesters. In terms of the students' reaction to approaches that we use during our classroom learning. So basically, what is it that I did observation, as I said just now, and then in terms of how, based on these 20 semesters, which actually stopped last year, I actually managed to have like 4 action research on the students' behaviors, the learning and teaching approaches, as well as the students' learning activities. So for example, if the students do not correspond to some activities, then I actually change the activities altogether. Now I need to emphasize the fact that during these 20 semesters, they are not the same students. Basically, they are from different cohorts as well as different academic programs. So that's why sometimes I was wondering whether maybe doing for just one particular academic program, for example, Faculty of Engineering students only, maybe I can get a different answers altogether. And in terms of the per people or persons who actually participated, so students that I taught myself, as well as 6 other groups of students for other courses, and taught by 6 other educators. So those are the people who actually helped me in order to get this data. Now moving on to the findings, there are 3 basically characteristics that I managed to actually decipher along the way based on the observations. The first one, military pedagogy as an approach to educate future intellectual leaders of character. And at the Defence University, we actually look at 50% excellence, academic excellence, and another 50% in terms of their military prowess. So basically, we're trying to mold graduates who have all this academic excellence as well as military skills. So this is the first one. And the second characteristic is actually military pedagogy for building personality of military personnel. Now, when the graduates or when the students, when they actually undergo academic programs as well as military training, what do we expect of them? And one of the questions that some of the people, when I meet them, when I ask them, what do you think of soldiers, or what do they think of military personnel, military officers, they say that, oh, military kills, So I was wondering why is this perception comes into their mind. So basically for military pedagogy, for building personality of military personnel, is the idea that whether the soldiers or whether the graduates, they are able to distinguish between what is wrong, what is right. So basically at the Defence University, we are trying to make sure that our graduates are morally and spiritually right. So although in let's say in wars, for example, there's Geneva Convention or any other conventions that the military personnel will have to follow, sometimes it's a very difficult situation where they have to decide this is wrong or this is right. So that's what I can see from the observations. Whenever that we have to discuss issues, some of them, they are not sure of how to actually defend their ideas or how to actually put their situation in the correct order. And last but not least is military pedagogy as a balanced mixture for critical teaching and learning aspects. So under this, we have actually three aspects. The first one, the balance between military personnel who act as lecturers as well as civilian lecturers. So the military cadets especially, they need to see a role model where they will have to share, let's say the military officers acting as the lecturers, they will share what's happening on the ground, for example. Now, I think I need to explain this further. At the Defence University, we have about 70% military cadets, and then we have what we call as the civilian students. Now, civilian students, they are divided into two categories. The first one, what we call as Reserve Officers Training Unit students, where all students actually who are not actually selected for military cadetship, they have to go to RO2, Reserve Officers Training Unit training. But some of them, they are not successful. So that's why we have like three categories basically. The military cadets, the RO2 students, as well as the pure civilian students. So basically, in order to get the role modeling right, so that's why we have like civilian lecturers as well as military lecturers teaching some of the classes. And the second one is actually teaching and learning approaches. I believe that this is happening in all universities or higher education providers throughout the world, where we have or we start the program, academic program, with what we call as the drill and practice technique or behaviorism basically. So for the first year and second year, we actually use a lot of behaviorism, and then eventually the third and the final year, fourth year or the fifth year, we have what we call as constructivism, where we encourage the students to share ideas, to debate issues, etc. And the last one is actually the teaching platforms. Basically at the Defence University, especially after the MCO, the Movement Control Order during the pandemic, we now have some sort of active hybrid programs, academic programs, where at times students can come to the physical classes, and at times students will have to do it online, attend the classes online. Now this is very critical simply because the students need to know there are various ways to achieve one goal. For example, they need to understand something in that particular course, so what happens is that it can be done physically or digitally. And we have come to the conclusion. So basically, to recap, for military pedagogy in the Malaysian context, we have three characteristics. And maybe I'm wrong, but I do believe that at least in Malaysia, no other universities have had similar pedagogy like what we have. And military pedagogy is important to ensure the education of future defenders of the nation is systematic and effective. So with that, thank you very much. I welcome question from the floor or comments, and if I cannot answer them, I will get back to you through email. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. And I will say we don't have that much time, so we'll reserve all questions to the end.
Okay.
So at this point, I'll invite the next speaker to proceed with his presentation.